Ilsa often speaks of the tens of thousands of unearthed humans living on Earth, banished from their homes, stripped of their life force, and made to live among humanity. There are ways to gain back one's Eve, she says. As the energy is gathered, in many cases ingested, the process of transforming into their true selves begins. Excerpt from the Journal of Dr. Francisco Amul, Murcia, October 1894. Songs in Glass. Bennett took inventory of the security guards. There were 4 behind and 5 in front, sandwiching him and Alex in the tight stone stairwell.
Fuck me.
The staff of Rose Noir were impeccably dressed in green suits with bright cyan ties, their blonde hair shimmering like gold in afternoon sun rays, even in the darkness, and all looked mad as shit to be in the presence of humans. Only a few moments ago,
But it seems like a week.
the soldier and Alex had been back to back, surrounded by club-goers from the Twilight Zone who were ready to swarm them in the Platinum Hall of Rose Noir. After a brief tussle, Bennett was then forcibly grabbed and arrested by a woman with broad shoulders, sunken cheeks, a tight bun of blonde hair tucked into a chauffeur's cap, and a name tag reading,
Chief Mary? She's like an Amazon. Always did like those.
The chief and her staff calmed the remaining crowd and managed to bring order. At least Bennett assumed so.
Couldn't tell you.
It was all a blur, and he was still wrestling with the effects of the horrible unearthed libation moss when he and Alex were led through the hostile crowd by restraints.
Never drinking again. I mean it this time.
Saliva sprayed his face as all manner of "death to the human" rhetoric was screamed in their direction. With his eyes closed, Bennett could see Eve flashing all around them, some in shades he'd never sensed before. The towering Chief Mary was awash in a deep cyan, similar to the Madolian Mara, but subdued by comparison.
And whatever shade she is makes me feel downright naughty. Gotta say, definitely bagging her groceries.
Beside the chief, the shortest of the Rose Guards continued prodding Bennett onward with a sick air of delight, carrying a much brighter hue around him, closer to a green apple. He also wouldn't stop smiling like a freaky haunted house munchkin. Despite how much Bennett loathed looking at the guy, a sudden joy came over him when he did, like a sneeze.
This feeling's new.
However, a falseness was apparent in the happiness. Bennett knew damn well he wasn't actually happy, joyful, or any other form of contented at the moment.
Come on, stop with this shit. I haven't felt this many emotions in my entire life. How do I get it to slow down?
Bennett pondered his rapturous powers as the humans were escorted through what seemed like half a mile of back hallways and eventually up the cold stairwell they were currently climbing. Its spiraling stone steps, going round and round a center column, gave Bennett the impression they were in a medieval castle, marching to the highest room in the tallest tower, where a princess might lay in waiting.
Probably just more assholes, though.
With his head starting to clear, the soldier was feeling better, but Alex was faring worse by the step. Even without sensing his Eve, Bennett knew his slight companion was swimming in anxiety and in a mess of pain thanks to the wound on his shoulder, a la Nigel Rowe.
Split-faced freak?
The blood seeping out of the wound showed no signs of stopping either. On Barker's pale face was the look of a man about to pass out.
Seen it 1,000 times.
Eventually, the stairwell ended on a broad landing, where a heavy pair of double doors rested at the end of an inlet with a round stone-topped roof. 2 guards of equal stature to Chief Mary stood posted outside. "Does she know we're here?" Mary asked on approach. "She knows," the guard on the right replied. Her scent was similar to the woman who attacked Alex.
Wrath. Different from Al's, though. Getting easier to tell these apart.
Each of the door guards took a handle and swung the gilded gates inward, allowing the posse to enter. Before seeing or hearing a single thing, Bennett's nose was assaulted with odors. Herbs and spices, fruits and vegetables, a tangy, sweet flavor he couldn't identify, and others too numerous to sort through. A draft of the ever-familiar scent of sweat took over, mixed with cigarettes, a few drugs he was versed with, post-coital air, and
gasoline?
The office was 20 yards from side to side, top to bottom, and much deeper than that, dotted with tiny lights throughout, looking like a mini galaxy. Rows of silver billiard tables lined the front borders of the room, with cocktail lights made of the same industrial metal, illuminating the players leaning in to take a shot. Those drinking and lounging in the couches were drenched in shadow and smoke, rising in cumulus plumes along the room's outer edge. Above, colorful windows interspersed along a balcony running the length of the office were tinted and packed with air bubbles, lightly obscuring the heaps of nude bodies grinding on the other side. The moans, spankings, and screams from the orgies were drowned out by the electronic music playing a beat far too fast to comfortably groove to in the office. Taking it in with slow breaths, Bennett assessed the layout.
Only seeing one exit. Super.
He and Alex were forced to the center of the room, where a broad, smooth, silky-topped desk rested. "Oh my God," Alex said, jump-starting Bennett's heart. "What? What is it?" Bennett asked. "That's the most beautiful desk I've ever seen." Bennett was so mad he could have punched Alex's lights out right there, but found the rage made him feel tired, as if he'd gone sprinting and gotten seriously winded. Also, his sixth sense of feeling Eve was noticeably repressed while it lasted. Trying to calm himself and regain the strength, he perused the desk and quickly changed his mind, agreeing with Alex. "No, actually, you're right. That's amazing." Appreciating the craftsmanship of the desk was a strange iron rod with which to put out the nuclear fire of Bennett's own rage.
Pretty obvious I have to get my anger under control, so whatever helps.
As Bennett calmed, his new senses returned clearer than ever.
Starting to understand what this rapture wants from me. I think. It's a fine fucking line, though.
The desk was also a nice distraction from the imminent danger they were in. Who or whatever made it was in a league of their own. Not only did it look like it could have taken a hit from Bennett's Ford and walked away without a scratch, the swirling trim of violet and green running its length, with no corners or hard edges to be found, was more impressive the longer one stared at it. Behind it, a chair of its own magnificence sat empty, looking to be formed of black pearl, with cyan and silver jeweled inlets and shimmering diamonds scattered throughout. Beyond the desk, filling the majority of the room, was a beautiful, miniature city of glass and vertical steel tubes, dotted with pressure gauges, timers, and twinkling sensor lights. Vats, pressure cookers, and distilleries stood as high-rises within the mini skyline of brass towers twisting up, disappearing into the murky ceiling. Below, beakers and pint glasses littered endless countertop space, mixed in with potted plants and bowls of vibrant fruits and vegetables. There were burlap sacks of what looked like dried beans, tea leaves, and possibly uncured coffee, as well as roots, weeds, and literal tons of other colorful ingredients Bennett couldn't begin to identify. Steam rising from boiling pots filled the air with green, blue, and yellow vapor, fogging the cylinders with a foamy mildew. Lastly, Bennett spotted a couple of jars of moss, making him throw up a little in his mouth. A granular, sultry voice began singing from within the glass metropolis, instilling the vibrations with a ghostly chorus. "Oh, a diamond would be grand. when its face bears not a crack. From Mother Earth we take the dew, and never give it back. In a whispered wood her nectar finds us weeping for a soul, in a body destined for the dirt, beneath a grassy knoll. Amen. Beautiful, Bennett said overly loud when the verse finished, catching a baton to the spine as punishment. Coming from a human male, that word means nothing, darling, the hidden singer said, before addressing Chief Mary curtly. Anywhere is fine, Constance. Hang on. Bennett glanced over his shoulder. Your full title is Chief of Security Constance Mary? You got a problem with that? She asked, threatening again. Bennett threw his hands up preemptively. Nope. No. Love it, actually. Please, Constance, the voice started. No need for more violence. Already been too much of it tonight. In the Rose, we treat everyone with respect, even when we don't know who they are, why they're here, or if they had a good reason for turning my darling little nightclub into an American Old West saloon. You're absolutely right. We're being rude, Bennett said, digging up his father's lessons in playing up manners.
Made it easier to con people.
Forgive us. My name is Bennett Hunter, and this is Al Barker. We're partners, Alex interjected. Loosely connected associates, Bennett corrected. Good to know you, Bennett and Al, the infamous humans instilled with Eve. She paused. For some reason, Bennett felt like she was studying Alex and him from the shadows between the pipes. You look surprised. Of course I know exactly who you are. I'm Madam Daphne, for Eve's sake. Word is spreading, you know. Some say you perished already, blown up when they tried to imbue you. Others said you became abominations who needed to be put down. Your coming has a lot of people agitated, I must say. Not that I care one way or another what happens on Highwind and the like, or even on Trivium for that matter. But one thing I will not tolerate is my guests having their evenings ruined.
Damn. There goes our cover. Gotta go with the truth. Hope I remember it. If you know who we are, you know why we're here, Bennett said. Again, we're very sorry, ma'am. We didn't want you to get mixed up in our business. For the duration of this conversation, you will both address me as Madam Daphne. Do I make myself as clear as Highwind crystal? Yes, Madam Daphne, Bennett and Alex said in unison. I'm a retired unearthed senator, former Lord of Nashwin, and a prominent Wyst of the Maldremo Order, all of which demands respect. The Rose is mine. Every brick, from first to last, was placed by my will. Not my hands, of course. No, that work is far too garish for my delicate skin. But it was my vision, you see, that brought it all together. Yes, my Eve is in every inch. My breath filled the Rose with life, and now my brothers, sisters, and everything in between can join me for a drink and fulfill all their wanton sick desires, while in a place of peace, the only place of peace in all of heaven and earth, mind you. Of course, Madam Daphne, Bennett started. It's been very nice to meet you. Compared with some of the meetings we've been getting lately, this is a hug and a sugar cookie. We're sorry it's under these circumstances. Please know that neither of us would do anything to bring harm to your establishment, or its clientele. On purpose, at least.
One of the pool players broke a rack like a shotgun blast. The action reverberated through the steel table. Alex jolted, getting a good laugh out of the smokers on the couches. I'm not mad about the damage, darling. Sometimes things break when passion is involved. Nothing wrong with that, Madam Daphne said.
What are you mad about?
Bennett asked, getting another crack in the back from Mary.
What? I'm just asking a question.
The chief was downright scowling. No one gets to speak to her like that, let alone you.
My God, could you be any sexier?
Madam Daphne laughed. I haven't decided what I'm mad about, human Bennett, but anger is an emotion I rarely feel. Dealing with it, I'm sure you can imagine, is hard. Did you know you're the only humans I've ever allowed upstairs? In the 800 years I've provided service to the downtrodden of this forsaken planet, no man or woman, no matter how powerful or well connected, has ever set foot in this office. Human presidents, dictators, CEOs, all permanently held at arm's reach. The agreements we've made with the powerful of your kind are quite permanent, thanks to mortal men being so damn easy to purchase, and a global society that judges one another for seeking pleasures, something I deplore, mind you, but in the end, useful. Most of the Earth countries believe we are a simple drug enterprise that their economies rely on, operating at the highest level in the shadows. So far, everyone has been happy.
Any drugs I would have tried?
Bennett asked, a little hopeful. I hate to judge by appearance, hon, but I would guess no. You have not, Madam Daphne said. Of course, there's a first time for everything. Constance, please, give him a taste. Bennett, no, Alex whined, leaning his head to the side.
I'm just curious,
Bennett assured him, whispering,
They know who we are. We have to be cool, okay? Can you do that?
The teacher gave a weak nod as Chief Mary reappeared from the darkness of the corner she'd dipped into, holding a shot glass. Inside was a purple liquid, faintly glowing, with a shine of silver on its surface, like oil on water. Bennett hesitated when Chief Mary tried to hand him the glass, opting instead for a sniff. Without an ounce of scent, it stunned Bennett, who suddenly felt as if he'd just sniffed 1,000,000 perfumes at the expensive lingerie shop in the mall, while hanging out with the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders on a nudist beach on a good dick day, and the girls all needed help with their suntan lotion, especially up their ass cracks.
What's it called?
He asked with a squeak, pulling away before pitching a full tent. Its production title is Kabungahan Soli, which I find quite attractive, Madam Daphne said. Though I must admit, pretty much everyone calls it Soli, or soul weed, which I'm less than fond of. You might say a little bit of me is inside every drop. Bennett waved off the shot.
No, thank you. Recently gave up drugs and alcohol. Sort of saw the light, I guess.
With a bored shrug, Chief Mary took the shot and tossed away the glass, letting it crash behind her as she wiped her mouth. You know life's for living, right?
Oh, baby, do I ever.
He couldn't take his eyes off the chief, and was probably drooling a little, though she hardly seemed to care. Needing a distraction from Constance Mary, whose Eve was twisting Bennett's balls into a knot, he tried to find Madam Daphne amid the sparkling assemblage of pipes. She carried on. Even a diluted supply is worth enough to get protection from any human government. Most have already stepped in line. I scarcely lift a finger. Amazing what your leaders prioritize. We give them the means to keep your brethren vigorous and high, thereby making them easier to control. And in return, we're left alone, easy as Canterbury pie. Now, I'd like to move on to what you both were doing here tonight. It's so strange to think two humans could be pulled from death and given the wrath and rapture without my knowledge. The Senate during my time would never have allowed such a thing. Yet, it happened, and the chosen humans have found their way here, bringing their problems, tribunal problems, into my establishment. Amid the anarchic chemistry set, there was movement. A poof of colorful smoke and blue fire, and something shimmering like rainbow trout skin. Quite frankly, you've caught me at a bad time. I'm very busy. As you can see, or maybe you can't, I am an experimenter. At the moment, I am creating a new brew for my archfiend-friendly clients. They need a particularly intense experience, don't they? Something potent. Knowing the things the archfiend have seen and done in their existence is something I must endure. I must understand it if I am to take the pain away. Sometimes that seems impossible with a creature born in Eros. But after all these years, hey, I still try. I am a Wyst, after all. Passion is our doctrine. Another puff of smoke. Green this time. I love to craft experiences for my kind. Creatures born of human souls. That's what this place is. A haven where the banished can be their old selves and find what this planet took away. A place to put the fervor back in their lives. To give them something that makes them feel like they were fucked to perfection. Or are themselves the perfect fucker. Who doesn't love to fuck? Best thing about Earth by far. Everyone knows it. No one says it. Tell you what, I'll do the same for you, my guests. Concoct the perfect brew, one for each of you, specially tailored to your aura. And this drink will do just that. Fuck you. Bennett's eyebrow lifted.
Not sure if I want a drink to fuck me, but go ham on Al.
You'll love it, I promise, Madam Daphne said excitedly. Alex gave Bennett a silent, "Why?" through his swelling face. I've had so little experience treating humans, Madam Daphne said. It's an amazing opportunity for practice. Your kind is so sensitive. Never truly happy, are you? Humans, they require finesse. Bennett could hear her getting to work within the glass and metal workshop, making out glimmers here and there of movement and flashes of light and color. There was a chopping sound from knives cutting into something plump and juicy, followed by what sounded like an industrial blender.
Madam Daphne?
Bennett began.
As I'm sure you've heard by now, we did not come here of our own accord. And from what little we've seen, your world needs us to succeed. And soon. We're here to gather information on a fugitive.
As did all the others who came for Ro. That man should learn to keep his mouth shut. His incessant need for attention is directly responsible for the sorry state our politics are in. She turned up the power on the blender until Bennett thought something might explode. With an excited yelp, she turned it off. Points for civility, young one, but I heard no apology in there for destroying my property. Though I feel pity for you and your situation, when the tribunal sent undercover agents to my Rose, human undercover agents no less, looking to make an interrogation of a known commer affirmateur, a line was crossed, and fate has decided you two will bear the weight of its consequences.
What'd she say, Al?
Bennett asked. Like a backstabber or tattletale, I think, Alex said. Madam Daphne chuckled. Oui. So, Mr. Barker has a mind to make up for his body? A female figure stretched and squashed in the glass tubing like in a house of mirrors. 3 or 4 misshapen Madam Daphnes approached the edge of a table. By the time they reached the end, they had reduced to 1. She stepped out from behind the last golden metal silo, holding a tray with a shimmering drink atop. When Bennett got a good look at her, he felt a literal guffaw come on, an old term he'd heard his dickhead father use a dozen times, and didn't fully understand until this moment. Her hips, shaped like a non-metaphorical hourglass, swayed from side to side, with the weight of a ship's anchor on a short chain, as her long legs, like exclamation points, dove in front of one another, propelling her with an overwhelming sense of ease. The hair bouncing above her head had so much volume in it could have been supported by chicken wire. She was the most peculiar, and at the same time most enticing, woman he had ever seen.
I'm so confused right now.
Closing his eyes to focus on her aura, he found a near overwhelming, churning fire of cyan, with flashes of indigo, violet, and hints of canary yellow. The feelings were potent. Passion, desire, and jealous obsession assaulted him, like when he used to see other men flirting with his favorite strippers. Opening his eyes, he found Madam Daphne sashaying up to them, holding the drink, a beautiful turquoise liquid with a glowing red center, out to Alex. I'm not much of a drinker, Alex said. This isn't a simple beverage, my boy. This is a journey. She offered it persuasively, puckering giant, rubbery lips. Will it do anything strange to me? The teacher asked. It should calm you down, for one, which you seem to be in desperate need of.
It's true, he is,
Bennett agreed. Don't have a name for it yet, Madam Daphne said. Just something I whipped up, which I certainly won't force you to drink. It's nothing malicious. Why would it be? You boys are acting delegates of the Senate. Not as if I could kill you. She lingered, keeping her immense eyes on Alex, seeming more a painting than a person. She reminded Bennett of something out of one of the anime porn catalogs his Marine teammate usually had stashed under his mattress.
George Svenko, my spotter. Fucker put mayonnaise on everything. And I do mean everything.
Alex still hadn't taken the drink off the tray. Should I?
You're a big boy. I don't care,
Bennett said. Fine. Alex took the drink and tried kicking it back like a shot. Most of it was coughed out. Swallowing what he could, the teacher's face lit up. Hey, That's pretty good. See, I knew it, Madam Daphne exclaimed with a bright smile, wiping the last drops off Alex's lips with her thumb. I can tell who a person is. You're easy. Taking the glass from him, she turned to her desk, revealing 3 long tendrils spilling out of the back of her hair, swaying at their own pace, as independently minded as cattails.
How did I miss those? Shit.
Their skin bore a 2-toned shimmering effect of blue and green, reminding Bennett of the time he'd seen and touched a dolphin's skin while tripping on acid at Myrtle Beach. Has no one told you it's not polite to stare? She asked without turning around.
Don't mean to,
Bennett said.
Just never seen, well...
My kind before?
Yeah.
I suppose it would be strange to a people who've spent their days reading about grand creatures in books or seeing them on the television to fully grasp the reality of their existence. The human rhetoric alone. I'm sure your minds are incapable of understanding what we of Unearth really are, or what the both of you have stepped into.
We didn't step into this thing, lady,
Bennett said.
It was thrust on us. All we did was get murdered at the wrong time.
You just told me your first lie. I despise feeling those. Don't do it ever again, Madam Daphne said resolutely, silencing Bennett. We might understand a lot better than you think, Alex said, grinning like an old drunk uncle on a wedding dance floor, luckily too buzzed to understand Madam Daphne might have just revealed Bennett's suicide. As she drifted behind her desk, seeming to float into the black pearl chair, Madam Daphne scanned them, running her fingers along the side of her desk. So, humans, shall we settle the matter of the damage to my club? Alex spoke up first, stumbling a few steps. I'm sorry, feeling a little loose after that drink. Madam Daphne, I only wanted to say, I didn't mean to go where we weren't supposed to. Nigel attacked me. I was just defending myself. God's honest truth. Madam Daphne's eyes narrowed at him. God? Is that a joke? Why do you speak as you do? You're filled with wrath. Where is it? Can you even snarl? Or are you submissive before your rapture-bound partner? What? No, Alex said defiantly. Bennett laughed a little. Madam Daphne grew quiet and contemplative, then released a grunt. Ro, I was hoping never to hear his name again. Every time I do, the stench lasts in my place for years. Still, once he sets foot in the Rose, he is protected, as are all unearthed creatures. Alex hiccuped. Excuse me. Why would you want or trust any information you'd receive from such a creature? She asked.
You said it yourself. The tribunal. Whatever the hell that is.
Bennett replied. Fuck me, you're like children, aren't you? I mean, who specifically, darling? Madam Daphne demanded. Who was tasked with carrying out this charade? I want a name and the specifics of your mission. Remember, you can't lie. She finished, staring daggers. Bennett trod lightly.
Not sure what we're at liberty to say. We can tell you that as far as we know, we're independent arbiters, working on behalf of Eros and Hywin.
Oh, I give up. I know it was the Medolians, Madam Daphne interrupted. Possessions are their jurisdiction, but not Mara, the one with brains. No, this sounds more like Isaiah. Only he would do something like this. It's too good an opportunity to mingle with his precious humans. Now, what of this Joseph, the rogue demon? What can you tell me about him? How do you know his name? Alex asked. Isaiah said the unearthed public. I'm not the public, dear, Madam Daphne said. Trivium City doesn't go dark for no reason, and Speaker Bennett and Minority Leader Van Mortis do not mince words. If Highwind and Eros are ready to declare war over one archfiend, there is a lot more going on behind the scenes than a possession gone wrong. Someone knows something and isn't sharing it with the rest of us. The main door to Madam Daphne's office was then struck from the other side with a bang. Every face in the office turned to see a man in a stained white t-shirt backing into the room, dragging along a custodial cart. Severely skinny, if tall, he had a thin beard scattered on his face, hidden under a mess of dirty brown hair. As he backed into the room, whistling, in his own little world, Bennett caught Alex do a double take, as though recognizing the guy. The janitor began emptying trash cans and replacing their linings. Eventually, noticing the lingering silence, he turned to the faces pointed his way and smiled. "Hey-o, cleaning time," he said. With a wave, he pushed on. Fighting for composure, Madam Daphne picked up where she left off. To say nothing of the Senate approving the injection of Eve into humans to solve our problems. And not just any Eve either. Wrath and rapture. I swear, the moment I left those dolts, they not only began losing their minds, but also their savoir-faire. And look what they've done. C'est bien triste que les gens aillent peg de sortir la nuit. Madame Daphne appeared to be getting flustered. I'm sure Isaiah or one of the other Medolians can help sort this whole thing out, Alex said. Let us try to call them and... Madame Daphne laughed. If Isaiah left you alone with no means of contacting him, I see no reason to involve him yet. Bennett caught the janitor taking worried glances at them as he collected pint glasses from the pool table areas, accidentally knocking one off the counter. Glass shattered, spilling blue liquid over the shoes of the billiard players. The janitor was on his knees in an instant with a rag and began cleaning the carpet and wiping their shoes. Pardon, so sorry, clumsy me. The players kicked the janitor away until he got the message and rose from the ground. Okay. Just can't see in this low light. Know what I mean? What are you doing? Madam Daphne shouted. The janitor's mouth dangled loosely. There was a spill, and... Does now seem like a good time? Perhaps there might be business going on? She asked, waving her hand back and forth, palm up, as though holding an invisible tray. Oh, you have company. Pardon. Je me trompe encore une fois. But my boss said to, the janitor replied. Who do you think your boss is? Madam Daphne shouted. My supervisor, Rick. I could go get him if you... Get out! Madam Daphne bellowed, flaring the tendrils on her back. The janitor jumped into action. Righto! Packing up his cart, he wheeled it to the exit, where security was waiting to usher him out and slammed the door behind him. Madam Daphne adjusted her hair and swept it out of her eyes. Taking a breath, she carried on. As I was saying, this is between you and me. No one else. Isaiah and the others claim to be neutral, but have shown themselves to be anything but. Bennett noticed Chief Mary and the other guards were edging closer. Alex hiccuped again as he started to sway.
Damn it. His wrath is dropping fast. What did she give him?
Madam Daphne had the light of a dreamer in her eyes. Unlike them, I care for all the shades of Eve, and the creatures born of them. Hywin, Eros, and all of Unearth can destroy themselves for all I care. I'd call it a reset. The earth and the creatures on it would be none the wiser, and would create a new Unearth. Perhaps I could be the one to nurture it, guide it, and help it grow. Alex hiccuped louder, interrupting the moment, rubbing his eyes. Sorry, feeling funny. Legs are a little tingly. Bennett sent a false smile Madam Daphne's way. I should get my friend home before he makes bigger fools of us. Thank you for your hospitality and all that. And since this was official tribunal business, rest assured these proceedings will be kept confidential and will never be repeated. Madam Daphne cut him off by standing, beaming with her own pearly whites. I'm sorry, but no. After your stunt downstairs, it will be difficult to put the genie back in the bottle. But I must try. No one can know the humans of the tribunal were conducting an official investigation on my property. My reputation in the Unearthed community depends on my lovelies knowing they can always find asylum here. No judgment will cross into these walls save my own. If Isaiah wants you back, he can knock on my door and ask, just like everybody else. We're not pawns to be used as bargaining chips, lady, Bennett said. Not at all, Madam Daphne said. A bargaining chip is intended to be given away, something I would never do with such a rare find. My beautiful fallen stars who landed in my lap. We're not lapdogs either. Now tell your chief to show us the door before the Medolians start wondering why we weren't at the rendezvous. Bennett missed how easy it used to be to intimidate people when they weren't whatever the hell Madam Daphne was. I think I won't, she said. Isaiah will learn one way or another he has no power here, and cannot go around doing as he pleases. Humans soaked to the brim with Eve is too great an opportunity to pass up for my experiments, and those of my colleagues. Think of all we can learn. You're not going to cut us into little pieces, are you? Alex asked.
For some reason?
Sweetheart, no. I'm a vegetarian. I could never do such a thing to a creature. But I will pay someone else to do it and give me all the applicable bits. I'm sure he'll find a use for whatever's left. I can only imagine with the doctor. He's got such an imagination. Who knows? He might even find a cure to an unearthed disease within you. Myself, I'm always looking for new ways to get people off. Or maybe a delicious new ingredient for my world-famous Mallows brew stew. Backing away, Bennett was met by Chief Mary, who took him by his restraints.
What the hell, Chief? I thought we had something special.
Another guard seized Alex, who was showing serious signs of fatigue. I'm actually sorry to do this, Madam Daphne said. I feel a horrid sense of grief about it. Surprising. But your kind only lives about half a century anyway, right? So it's not like I'm taking that much from you. Ow, light up, Bennett said, fighting for freedom against the impossibly strong Chief Mary.
I'm trying,
Alex groaned.
In the hands of my friend, Dr. Neil Shemaine, you will be cared for like princes, right up until your very last moments, which should be painless, at least from what I hear, though I wouldn't know. I've never died. Be sure to treat him with respect. He is a brilliant man, and worthy of it.
Madam Daphne swayed back and forth, singing, as Bennett released a furious scream, trying every trick he knew to break the chief's grasp as he and Alex were dragged through the office double doors.
In a whispered wood, her nectar finds us weeping for a soul.
Despite his strained efforts, Bennett couldn't find the power he'd felt the night the wings appeared, pouring through his emotions, giving them all a try. For a brief moment, his skin turned cold, but his hand radiated nothing. There was no ice on his chest. Hauled like prisoners down the spiral staircase of Rose Noir, he and Alex were surrounded by shadow, as Madam Daphne's voice became all that was left, echoing in a chorus from above.
In a body destined for the dirt, beneath a grassy knoll. Amen.